Hey guys, welcome back. This is the FancyNerd here. Guys, thank you so much for the comments and views on the last video. It was awesome. So I decided to do this as a full-out series. This is called Talk. This is where I talk about random things, and this series is called GameTalk. GameTalk is where I bring you into the lore and history of a video game and make the game seem as though it happened in real life. Guys, this game I want to start out with Outlast. Now, sit back in your seats and relax. Mount Massive Asylum for the Criminally Insane is located in the remote mountains of Lake County, Colorado. It opened in 1967, where 3 scientists were murdered by an unknown patient. Authorities ordered the asylum to cease all activities. Some former personnel was Clyde Perry. He was the director of historical refinement. Jermaine Dollarare. He was the deputy director of the hydrotherapy program. There was also Oliver Berenjik. He was the assistant director of behavioral medicines. Celeste Kinsley, he was the Human Resource and Corrections Officer. Thomas Whitler, he was the father. Wilfred Pandram was the Archbishop. Finally, in 1971, Mount Massive Asylum for the Criminally Insane closed. A year afterwards, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered all MK Ultra files to be destroyed. A small number of documents survived scattered throughout the asylum. Project MK Ultra, sometimes referred to as the CIA's mind control program, is a code name given to a program of experiments on humans, at times illegal, designed and undertaken by the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency. Experiments on humans were intended to identify and develop drugs and procedures to be used in interrogations and in torture, in order to weaken the individual to force confessions throughout mind control. In 2009, the clinic was reopened by the Murkoff Corporation, for which the next several years they conduct illegal experiments on the patients with the sole purpose of making profit. The employees of Murkoff consisted of Andrew, his status is currently unknown. There was also Jeremy Blair, he was the executive of Mount Massive Asylum and the Project Walrider. Richard Traeger, he was head of research and development. He is now deceased. There's some inconsistencies with files, as the first one states that Traeger was the head of the business development team at Mount Massive Asylum for the Murkoff Corporation before being committed as a patient during the Mount Massive Asylum incident, improvised himself as surgeon and started cutting up staff members to cut corners. While this document shows that Traeger was a former executive of the Murkoff Corporation research development at Mount Massive Asylum before he became an experimenting surgeon, he wears glasses, a machine monocle, and a bloodstained apron, and a torn-up surgeon's mask. He also appears to have an accessory on his left arm from a patient's drip. This drip is identified to help him survive, to use as such as a blood transport. Traeger was also a close friend with Jeremy Blair, as a note proves they were friends and used to play golf. Steve, his status is currently unknown. There was also Wayland Park. He was a software engineer. He was involuntarily terminated. Not much is known about Wayland's past, but according to Jeremy Blair, he graduated from Berkeley with exceptional marks. At some point in his life, he met his wife named Lisa, who he had 2 sons with. He later got a job in the field of software consulting, and at some point acquired a 2-week contract deal with the Murkoff Corporation at Mount Massive Asylum, with a level 3 security clearance, where he would maintain the morphogenic engine and additional programming alongside Murkoff's research and development division. After a few days, due to the Murkoff's strict security protocols, he was unable to even talk to his wife and kids. Wayland developed a deep-seated distrust for the profit-motivated scientists and doctors, leading dangerous, irresponsible experiments on their patients. Realizing he had made a mistake and regretting his choices, Wayland had decided to go behind the back of Murkoff and expose them for the inhumane experiments to the public. Dr. Carl Houston, his status is unknown. Dr. Walsh, his status is also unknown. Helen Granite is the head of the legal department. She is currently alive. Employee of the Murkoff Corporation's Legal Mitigation Department at Mount Massive, Colorado, Granite sent an email to Group 8416 revolving around the casualty issue of Project Walrider. She was responsible for closing the art program inducted at Mount Massive Asylum. She later received an email from Niall Wolfram about this matter. Granite's fate remains unconfirmed. However, in this document sent from her describing the company's intentions to phase out Rudolph Warnick's structural and financial responsibilities from Mount Massive Asylum, as well as plans to expand Project Walrider at a new facility in an unknown location. This most likely means that Granite survived the Mount Massive Asylum slaughter, or that she wasn't even at the asylum at the time of the incident. Dr. Niall Wolfram, his status is unknown. David Annapurna. He was involuntarily terminated. He was an orderly who worked at Mount Massive Asylum sometime before the arrival of Miles Upshur, a journalist that was sent an email from Wayland Park. Wayland Park was his contact to try to expose the Murkoff Corporation for the experiments that were going on down there. Miles was terminated when he deactivated Project Walrider, as Murkoff's military division shot and killed him. Anyway, not much is known about David other than he, much like Wayland Park, attempted to contact the presses but ended up being captured and processed as a mentally unstable patient. It is assumed that David died before or during the outbreak. Kurt Vigelando, his status is unknown. Patrick Petrina, status unknown. Cynthia Ishner, also her status is unknown. Jennifer Rowland, she's the pathologist. Her status is also unknown. The known Murkoff's divisions consist of three: the MHS, the MRD, and the MPS. MHS stands for the Murkoff Hardline Security Division. They direct the military units that have the power to seize all Murkoff facilities in case of emergencies, with permission from the Murkoff's Board of Directors. They are responsible for sending its tactical division to Mount Massive Psychiatric Center. MRD is also known as the Murkoff Research and Development Program. This branch directs the scientific projects that Murkoff takes on. It works to both research potential areas for profit and works to develop these into working models. MRD is responsible for the creation of the Project Walrider. Notably, MRD executive Richard Traeger wishes to expand Project Walrider to include female patients. Murkoff's Psychiatric Systems, MPS, specifically created for Project Walrider. MPS consists of doctors, scientists, orderlies, and security guards who work with patients at Mount Massive Asylum for the purpose of creating a super soldier, using a swarm of specific molecules produced through psychosomatic reaction. The Project Walrider was an experiment to create an ideal creature called the Walrider. This experiment took place underneath Mount Massive Asylum in the laboratory. The members of this experiment were Rudolf Gustav Wernicke, born on October 20th, 1918 in Munch, Germany, and achieved fame in mathematic and scientific communities for a paper written on early computing pioneer Alan Turing. After a cloudy history with the German war effort, he immigrated to the United States in 1949 with a visa from the State Department. Several decades of government research in Los Alamos led to New Mexico, where Dr. Wernicke retired to pursue landscape photography and to care for his cats. He is single and has no children. He came to Colorado shortly after the turn of the century to pursue charitable work for the Murkoff Corporation. Alan Turing, which Dr. Wernicke wrote a paper with, he was one of the main contributors to the morphogenic engine, alongside his co-worker that I just stated, Rudolf Wernicke, and some members of the Murkoff Corporation. The Walrider, while appearing ghostly in nature, is actually a swarm of nanites, small nanoscopic machines which collectively possess great strength and power. It took position of William Hope, as it is shown by a document. When Billy was undergoing the morphogenic engine therapy, he learned to self-direct lucid dream states. He was then capable of controlling the Walrider. I will now read the document. Murkoff Psychiatric Systems, Project Walrider, Mount Massive, Colorado, case number 174, patient initials WPH, consultation date 2012-10-14, initial date of patient consult 2009-04-12, patient age 19, gender male, observing physician is Dr. Carl Houston, therapy status, patient claims to have progressed self-directed lucid dream states. Morphogenic engine activity observed at unprecedented scales. Continuing stage 4 of hormone schedule. Diagnostics. Spirometry revealed no bronchial accumulation. Hematocrite centrifuge again failed to separate endocrites, highly worrisome. MRI revealed arthritic REM/NREM cycle, laughter in NREM state. Interview notes. Billy asked about the status of his mother's lawsuit against the Murkoff and the asylum. This represents a catastrophic breach in security. Despite Billy's claim that he discovered the truth in the blood dreams of Dr. Traeger, note the only Traeger on the company records is Richard Traeger, is an executive from MRD. All orderlies and security personnel must be questioned and video security improved to include analytical biometrics. Murkoff Psychiatric Systems, Project Walrider, Mount Massive, Colorado. The morphogenic engine is employed by Murkoff to allow patients, while being carefully monitored, to enter a prolonged lucid dreaming state and control the wall rider, acting as its host. The exact details of how the morphogenic engine works is unclear, but some aspects can be discerned from confidential documents, dialogue with Dr. Warnick, and direct observations by Miles Upshur in Wayland Park. Prior to interfacing with the engine, patients are subjected to therapy sessions designed to induce extreme mental states. This is intended to trigger a psychosomatic response in the patient's bodily system, which renders them more receptive to nanoswarm production and control process. The nature of this therapy is extremely taxing on the patient's sanity. As stated by Dr. Warnick, only a test subject who has witnessed enough horror is capable of activating the engine. While controlling the swarm, patients are placed in a spherical fluid-filled container with life support tubes inserted into various orifices. The patient's body is injected with a stream of precursor molecules, which are then assembled by the patient's own cells into nanites, nanomachines. If the patient is not receptive to the nanite production process, it can rapidly cause the formation of lesions, tumor-like growths. Variants in patients. Variants are the results of the exposure of the patients from Mount Massive Asylum to the morphogenic engine created by Dr. Rudolph Warnick. After effects of therapy altered their mind and provoked physical deformities, the outcomes of those after effects can't be determined, thus giving those afflicted the name of variants. Most of the variants have pale skin and mutilations, likely having to do with the experiments they were once exposed to. They differed in ways. While some are thin and weak, others are massive and brutally strong. Some known patients is Chris Walker. I will now read his document from his file entry. Murkoff Psychiatric Systems, Project Wall Rider, Mount Massive, Colorado, case number 136, patient initial CLW Walker. Consultation dates 2013-05-28. Initial date of patient consult 2011-01-28. Patient age 32, gender male. Observing physician is Dr. Rudolph Warnick. Therapy status morphogenic engine activity plateaued at roughly 2000 ppm. Unsafe to progress beyond stage 3 hormone schedule. Diagnostics. Spirometry revealed light to medium bronchial accumulation. MRI scans consist with patient's reported dreams. Interview notes. Walker was interviewed and restraints following his self-inflicted mutilations. Restraints had to be altered to accommodate his enormous size. Extensive dermal eruptions as consistent with failed morphogenic engine cellular activity. He claims the skin ripped from his forehead allows for a truer way of seeing. Seems to have some boyhood experiments with the Tatarel lizard and their parental eye. He has expressed anxiety about his flesh, specifically around his lips and nose. Attending oral eyes should be advised to watch for further self-mutilation. The mental traumas he sustained while serving in Afghanistan seem to be retarding the progressions of the ME process. His predominant fixation, amplified by the therapy, is a manic exaggeration of military security protocol, and continuation of both chemical and physical restraints is highly recommended. The brothers, not much is known about them other than they are psychopaths. They seem to constantly talk about indulging to their desire of murdering Miles and possibly eating his tongue and liver. They seem to be obedient of Father Martin. The reason for this is unknown. Martin Archambaud. This is the email that was sent from Dr. Niall Wolfram. Helen, Dr. Zickner gave me your info to contact regarding the cancellation of the arts program. My patient, Dr. Archambaud, has made enormous strides in his therapy on account of his finger painting. Just in the week since canceling the arts program, his schizophrenic assertions of some higher calling have accelerated enormously. Please just let the man finger paint. A few dollars you're saving on tempered paint is more than swallowed by the cost of clozapine. I can't even imagine the logic at play here, unless Murkoff wants our patients to become more disengaged from reality. Please advise Dr. Neil Wolfram. The quotation marks her own father suggests that he's not even a priest at all. The origin is hinted at by the cross on his chest that appears to be fashioned from straps, and at times a buckle is visible. His religion worships the Wall Rider, as it's the only reasonable explanation he could suffice in the state of his dementia. Next patient is William Hope. He was the first host of the Wall Rider and would be his only physical restrained host. He might believe that Rudolph Warnick is his father, as he keeps him alive through the powers of the Wall Rider. He's being kept alive by a large reservoir filled with various chemicals and constantly being kept in a lucid dream state in order to work as efficiently as possible with the Wall Rider. The large machine hosting the entire process, the morphogenic engine, is present feet away from his sphere. From Billy's patient report, he's out to be 23 years old. He looks like he's at least 50 years of rough road, pain scratched deep into what I can see. Killing would be an act of kindness. Next is Pyromaniac. No information is available. Eddie Gluskin, case number 196. Patient Eddie Gluskin, consultation date 2013-02-14. Patient is age 46. Gender is male. Observing physician is Dr. Garrett Snow. Therapy status, lucid dreaming. Figures remain as murky as ever. Gluskin claims near constant control of his dream state, yet correspondence between his narrative and REM cycles are highly arithmetic. REM/NREM morphogenic engine activity plateaus at 90 ppm. Diagnostics: heavy bronchial accumulation and the rashes associated with the hormone therapy have receded and vanished since we stopped using latex tubing. Interview notes: Gluskin remains frustrating interview subject as he's trying to tell us what he thinks we want to hear, while studiously avoiding certain elements of the truth. His childhood remains an obvious fiction. He claims to have grown up in Leave It to Beaver, despite a traumatically violent, ongoing sexual experience that is a matter of public and medical record. When I confronted him with the photographs of his father and uncle took, he responded with a mixture of laughter and anger, and restraints were issued. He similarly refuses to discuss his victims, both categorically and specifically. When I showed him the pictures of the woman, he would not admit that they were dead or mutilated. He is still claiming advancement in the morphogenic engine program that he has not yet achieved. He said that he could clearly hear the voice of the Wall Rider just by closing his eyes. Clearly he's still trying to curry the favor of his doctors. I won't speculate what he expects to gain by it. Next patient is Frank Manera. Born in 1976, his father, Antonio Manera. Little is known about Frank's past, only that he is 36 years old, and he has been admitted to the asylum on October 31, 2010. According to the doctors of the Murkoff Corporation at Mount Massive Asylum, Frank Manera doesn't eat almost anything, hiding the fact that he's a cannibal. In 2012, Frank Manera ended their queries of being taken to the morphogenic engine, a fact that was hidden from his father. Later, Frank Manera became a very dangerous variant that the overwhelmingly majority of the time it ended up attacking defenseless other variants and even stronger variants. In 2013, the Wall Rider is freed and Frank Manera escapes with several other variants. Dennis was diagnosed with a mental disorder, multiple personality disorder. He has 4 expressed identities or personalities, 2 brothers. One brother is named Timmy and the other is unnamed, with stuttering speech impediments. Their father and their grandfather, each represented with a specific voice. All the identities are distraught and will constantly babble about a non-existent flood. Whether or not the flood would happen, or already did happen, that was never confirmed by Dennis. It is suggested that the fabrication on reality is the cause for this delusion. Finally, the Mount Massive Asylum incident. Billy Hope gained control of the Wall Rider. He used it to begin slaughtering all the asylum staff. In the ensuing chaos, many variants escaped, and they too began wreaking homicidal havoc in their extremely unstable states of mind. The security forces attempted to quell the attacks and stop the inmates, but ultimately failed. Losing the facility to the variants, Murkoff's tactical division was dispatched, but most of them were killed in their attempts to retake the asylum. Not only did the experiments take effect on the patients, but the Murkoff staff as well. A notable example being Dr. Richard Traeger, who worked for the Murkoff Corporation and whose personality was affected by the illegal treatment on the patients. Many of the patients had escaped. That escape started to freely roam the asylum with no set purpose. Some patients took on sort of a religion that started to worship the Wall Rider, thinking that it was God. These variants became followers of Father Martin, who was attempting to release the Wall Rider into the world, Chris Walker. Another escape variant was trying to prevent this from happening, as it was made evident by the ramblings of the other patients. Many of the staff and security forces were killed during the slaughter by the Wall Rider and the variants themselves. Finally, MHS, Murkoff's hardline security, is sent to Mount Massive Asylum after Miles Upshur thought he took down the Wall Rider. That was not the case, as he became host of the Wall Rider. That is when MHS was sent to the asylum and ultimately killed Miles Upshur. Not knowing he was the host of the Wall Rider finally began slaughtering the MHS. That is the end of what happened at the Mount Massive Asylum incident. But finally, Murkoff Corporation tried to hide all evidence of the outbreak. They took Class 10 security measures to cover themselves. No other information is available to what happened to the MHS staff that was destroyed or what happened to the Wall Rider. All Murkoff morphogenic engine research is claimed to be destroyed. The swarm was an utter failure. Keeping this project buried was Murkoff's first assignment at Mount Massive Asylum. All patients and variants are assumed dead. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching my video. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and as always, stay fancy, my dudes. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching again. It means the world to me that you guys look at my content, but I hope I can continue this. If you guys have any suggestions, definitely leave them down in the comment section below. I want to say this is a re-edit of the last video. The last video got a lot of hate for the audio. My YouTube manager, SlickPorcupine, is handling a lot of this, and I want to thank him because honestly, this wouldn't be possible without him. If you want to look at the first video I uploaded, that will be at the very end card in a few seconds. Alright guys, have a great day. See ya!